Hello, Townview Music. Today we're going to talk about an introduction to understanding how pitch works in music. So, music uses an alphabet all its own. It has A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, but it doesn't keep going after that, only those letters. Each letter represents a pitch, a frequency, how high or how low the sound is. And as pitches get higher, as they ascend, they go forward in the alphabet. B is higher than A, C is higher than B, and so on. As pitches get lower or descend, they go backwards in the alphabet, meaning that B is lower than C and A is lower than B. These letters repeat in a pattern as you keep going. So if I were to go up, it would be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, so on and so on and so on. If I were to go down, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, and then below A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, and then below that a G, and so on and so forth. If we take a moment to look at the piano keyboard, we'll see that there are white keys and black keys. And each of those keys on a piano or any other instrument, each of the notes, corresponds to a letter of the musical alphabet. And what we were just thinking about is above every G is an A, and below every A is a G, and that pattern continues on. We think about where A is, it's right here, and then that continues up. For B is the next note, and then C, and then D, and then E, F, G, and after G comes an A. After the A comes a B, C, D, and so on and so forth. We can remember where that pattern starts by looking at the arrangement of the black keys on the piano. So if we look at them, they're in groupings of 3 and 2. 3, 2, so on and so forth. If you look right below every group of 2, there's a C right here. And right below every group of 3 is an F right here. And we can think about that being C for chopsticks, because those 2 kind of look like chopsticks, and F for a fork, because the 3 sort of resemble a fork. So right below every 2 is a C, and right below every 3 is an F. Cs also repeat every octave. So there are several octaves on a piano or on any instrument. So you think about there's a higher version and a lower version as well for each of those. And that pattern continues. The distance from one key to any adjacent key is a half step. 2 half steps make a whole step. So if we look where B and C are, there's nothing between them. B is adjacent to C, which means that B to C is a half step. But if we look from C to D, there is a key between those. That means that that's a whole step. From the white key C to the black key above it, and from that key to the D key are 2 half steps or a whole step. Most of them are a whole step apart, but some of them, like we just saw, are only a half step apart. B to C and E to F are the 2 half steps in the scale. And we can remember that they're so close together because an elephant, B, C, E, F, squished them. Okay, so maybe you don't like the joke, but at least it can help you remember that right there between B and C, and right there between E and F, there's no black key, and they're only a half step apart. Everything else is a whole step. We mentioned before that the black keys are between those white keys and they represent higher and lower versions of those letters. If we're talking about a black key being above, we're saying it's sharp. And if we're talking about it in reference to being below, then it's flat. Depending on the context, you could call one key, one note, either sharp or flat, depending on what you're comparing it to. So for instance, this key is right above C, so we could call it C sharp. But we could also say that that key is right below D, so we could call it D flat. Sharp is right above, and flat is right below. We can also talk about the terms sharp and flat as referencing raising or lowering a pitch. So we can say, sharp that note, meaning raise that note. Or we could say, you're too flat, meaning you're too far below the pitch that you should be at. Again, sharps going up, flats going down. Now let's take that and apply it to a guitar fretboard. If you're familiar with a guitar, then you know that each of these strings that are running left to right has a letter, and then the frets that are running vertically across the fretboard are going to raise that pitch. So this translates to every instrument, not just guitar and piano, but let's take a look at this one for right now. The open strings from the lowest one on the bottom right here, going upward, are E, A, D, G, B, E. So E is down here, A, D, G, B, and E. And if you put a finger on any one of these frets and then pluck or strum the string, it will raise the pitch by a half step. Meaning if this string is open at an E and I put my finger on the first fret, I'll go a half step above E, which is F. And if I put it on the second fret, I'll go a whole step above E, which F sharp. And if I put it on the third fret, I'll go 3 half steps or a step and a half, so that would be G. And what that looks like on the fretboard is this, where our open strings are E, A, D, G, B, E, and as we raise up in pitch, we get new letters. You'll notice that there is a diamond or a triangle on every spot where there's a half step between two letters, all the EF and all the BC. Guitar players, or anyone wanting to get better at guitar, would do really well to spend some time getting familiar with this concept on the guitar fretboard. Feel free to pause the video and study it if you need to. Solfege is another way of expressing this pitch, but this time we're talking about the voice. So we can use a form of the musical alphabet in a scale, and a scale is just simply talking about how one pitch relates to another pitch. In solfege, you assign each letter note a solfege syllable. So for example, C would be do, and then D would be re, and E would be mi, and F would be fa, and G would be so, and A would be la, and then B would be T. So depending on which letter is do, it adjusts all the rest of them after that. So if that's do, that's C, do, re would be D, E would be mi, F would be fa, G would be so, A would be la, B would be T, and at the end of that pattern, you would get another do on the high C. The letters will always have the same place on any given instrument, but solfege syllables can move around so that C is not always do. It's just do in this example that we have right here. So let's review. The musical alphabet uses A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and it repeats itself. When we ascend or go higher, we go forward in the alphabet, and when we descend or go lower, we go backwards or reverse through the alphabet. Whole steps are between every letter except from B to C and from E to F, which are half steps. The black keys that are above and below the white keys are the sharp and flat versions of the letters. All musical instruments and voices use this system. Solfege can be used to express musical pitches and how they relate to each other, and you can talk about solfege even if you're not specifically talking about vocal music. I hope that this helped. I hope that this made things clear for you, and please feel free to review this as much as you need to in order to better understand how pitch relates to music.